Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today we have another tactical preview for Manchester United. This time in a game which is without doubt United's biggest test of the season so far, of course away at Arsenal. We need to figure out what Erik ten Hag can do to get a result here. Now, I'm normally quite an optimistic fan, but I have to be honest with you guys, I'm not full of optimism going into this game. However, despite that, I still think there are some key principles from a tactical point of view which Ten Hag can use to give United a chance. Now, like I said, I'm not particularly confident, but I think I have the way in which United can beat Arsenal. So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, JerseyFIFA.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFIFA for 10% off when you order. So in terms of my approach on how to beat Arsenal, a lot of this is going to be about what you don't do rather than what you do. So for example, in my opinion, Manchester United should not press particularly high up the pitch. Now for now, ignore the starting 11. This is being recorded on Thursday. Loads could have changed. We could see Martial up top. It might be Jadon Sancho. We might see Garnacho in the team. Cucurella might be a United player. Sofian Amrabat. I'm not too sure at this moment in time, at the time of recording. But whatever the lineup is, in my opinion, United shouldn't press too high, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One of the reasons is because United's pressing structure just isn't optimal. So, if I can find my mouse, here we go. If United were to use their current pressing structure, where, let's say the ball goes like this to Ben White, Sancho curls across here, Antony comes across like this, Arsenal then go backwards, Ramsdale is the sort of goalkeeper which has the ability to then find these passes. So even if United are man for man everywhere else on the pitch, I just think United will get done with this pressing structure. I think Arsenal are too good at playing the ball out from the back. I think United will struggle with that. It would allow Arsenal to play forward far too easily. The other reason, though, that I don't think United should press Arsenal is because even if United's press was really good, I still think they would struggle. So let's say United use a more connected press, something like this, where Wan-Bissaka pushes high, meaning that this pass is no longer available. Perhaps Lindelof could come across like this, something like this. This is actually typically a really good pressing structure, which United could use in this game. But I still wouldn't recommend it for this game, because Arsenal now have the ability to go long thanks to Kai Havertz. You can question his start to the season, his fit in the side, you can question it all. What you cannot question is the ability for him to be used as a target on long balls, because he's a big presence. And not only are Arsenal good at winning the first ball, I just think the second ball they would completely dominate. Odegaard is much better physically than someone like Christian Eriksen. Declan Rice compared to Bruno Fernandes is a mismatch. You can also have Nketiah, who physically is quite good. I just don't think United can press, because if Arsenal play short, I think they'll play through United. If Arsenal go long, I think they'll win the first and the second ball. Now you could maybe bring someone like Scott McTominay in to try and help with it, but still, I just wouldn't press. Now instead of pressing, I would instead go for more of a 4-4-2 mid-block shape, which looks something a little bit like this. Again, McTominay and Casemiro being a double pivot, Antony and Marcus Rashford being given defensive roles in the side, Jadon Sancho and Bruno Fernandes kind of as a front two. Now in terms of how Arsenal will look to break that down, it will most likely be a 3-2 shape. We'll see the left back inverting into the back three like this. Thomas Partey, who would typically be right back, is going to invert all the way into midfield in possession, giving Arsenal this box in the middle of the park, the wide wingers and Nketiah pinning the United defence back. So the question is, how do United stop Arsenal effectively progressing the ball from here? Well, like I've said a few times, I think the 4-4-2 kind of mid-block is the best solution to facing this sort of side. And there's a few different reasons for that. But in particular, I think Jadon Sancho and Bruno Fernandes could tie up Declan Rice and Thomas Partey quite nicely, and that's really important to do. What Ben White was often doing last season, when he was playing right back, and even if he was inverting into these positions, he was really good at getting the ball out this way and moving the ball forward towards Bukayo Saka. Thomas Partey just isn't doing it in the same way. And as a result, because Partey's playing from right back, he wants to come into this area here, but then, because he's kind of naturally come in from this position, he seems to want to keep playing that way. He has this tendency at the moment to pass the ball to the left. So that might be Declan Rice, it might be Havertz, Martinelli, and Nketiah, whoever it may be. But this does just stop Odegaard and Bukayo Saka getting on the ball quite as much. So I think if Sancho, for example, can maybe play on the outside of Thomas Partey like this, and force him inside, kind of funnel Arsenal into the middle of the pitch, that could be a good strategy. Now, that might sound a little bit daft. Typically, you don't want to force teams inside, but I actually think it could be the best approach for United to use in this game. Now, from here, Arsenal could very easily rotate into more of a diamond shape when Declan Rice pushes a little bit further forward. But United, using this kind of system, should still be able to go man for man in these areas. And again, this is why I'm going for Scott McTominay. We need that dueling ability. He needs to be able to win these battles in the middle of the park. And against Odegaard, McTominay is the best bet to do that. Casemiro needs to have a better game. Someone like Lisandro Martinez needs to be ready to be aggressive, as does Victor Lindelof. But also Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, you got to win your duels better. Don't dive in too much. But I do think that if United can kind of force Arsenal into these areas and then make it compact, make it aggressive, make it really gritty in the middle of the park, United could have some real success in stopping Arsenal. Because if you can stop the ball getting to these wide players, you go a long way to stopping Arsenal. Now, if United do this, Arsenal will react. And something that we'll often see, of course with Thomas Partey coming into this area, is Ben White, who is actually playing centre-back, will then eventually kind of start pushing around into this area. Now, this is when Marcus Rashford comes into things. He needs to be switched on from a defensive point of view. He can't just let Ben White walk forward down this side of the pitch. And of course, Antony on the other side needs to tuck in as well. But if Marcus Rashford is able to win the ball in this sort of area here, or even if, again, you can force the ball inside and then maybe Scott McTominay wins it, Arsenal leave this massive gap here. We saw Fulham exploit it the other day inside like 2 minutes or whatever it was. There is a real gap which you can exploit here, where Saliba gets a little bit isolated. Arsenal are kind of in the middle of moving positions. Thomas Partey's coming inside, Ben White stepping outside. If you turn the ball over, there are gaps here which United could really exploit. Of course, even if United do those things well, Arsenal will still have plenty of spells of dominance in this game. They will move the ball forward and get into the final third. We're not massively going to go into the tactical side of it from there, because I think the key battle is stopping them getting that far. In terms of when Arsenal are in the final third, they'll attack with a front five, so at times Casemiro will need to drop deep. Those centre-backs are going to have to be nice and aggressive. Dalot against Saka is a huge battle, as is Martinelli versus Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Again, United need to be ready for second balls in the middle of the park. They need to win those duels. But in general, I think the key thing will be dropping Casemiro deeper. And again, as much as people may not like it, having Scott McTominay in the midfield would be a huge help to stopping Arsenal from really playing their free-flowing football. However, if United follow these principles in general, I think they can go a long way to stopping Arsenal. The question is, how do you actually hurt them going the other way? We've already seen the ability to win the ball in transition and then attack quickly. That could be deadly. But United need some possession themselves as well. So the question from here is, what does United in possession actually really look like? How does it take shape? And how can United move the ball forward and hurt Arsenal? Truthfully, I'm not too sure. Arsenal are very good with the way that they press. They've got a very physical side, which is good in the duels. There's lots of athleticism. And if it all goes wrong, they've got Saliba at the back, who bails them out 9 times out of 10. How do United play through this? I just don't know. Arsenal will often look to press in a man-to-man structure. So Nketiah, for example, would go onto Lindelof here. Bukayo Saka will then come inside. But unlike what United do, Arsenal will then connect their fullback, push forward like this, and be nice and strong and aggressive. You're going to back White in this situation, Saliba in this position, Declan Rice in this position. Arsenal have the physical superiority. This means that Onana doesn't really have the option to go long, because if he does, it's just going to get headed straight back to him. Now, this is why, if possible, Rasmus Højlund should play this game, because he offers you something different. He's a physical outlet, and Arsenal would genuinely be scared of leaving him 1 versus 1. If he's not fit, United will have trouble, because I just don't know how you go long here, because you're going to lose the first ball and probably the second ball in here as well. The other problem, though, is that you can't particularly play out from the back, because Arsenal are aggressive in their man-to-man structure. Casemiro doesn't have the turning ability in these positions. Scott McTominay doesn't have the turning ability in these positions. Truthfully, I'm not too sure what United should do. I have to be completely honest with you. One thing I would suggest, though, is United should probably just play it safe. Away from home, you're probably at times going to need to push the team up and go long. Now, those second balls are going to be important. United have to win those, but I don't think it's a game for risks. I think get it done nice and direct, particularly early on in the game. Don't give the Arsenal crowd something to really get behind. Now, in terms of potentially where United could have some success playing out from the back, I think going forward and then going backwards to Onana could be the strategy, using Onana as the spare man, which he, of course, is in this structure. So maybe you can work the ball wide to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So let's say, I mean, of course, Arsenal can't be in the box here. So let's say the ball goes wide to Victor Lindelof, and Nketiah is going to lock on here. The ball goes wide to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Arsenal are going to lock on in a man-to-man structure from this position like this. It's what they will do. I'm really confident of it in this game. Maybe we could see something here where Lindelof steps forward, drags Nketiah with him, something that United do quite a lot. Could this ball then go back towards Onana? And now can we get a runner? Now can we get a runner? Marcus Rashford in behind Ben White. with Sancho or Martial or Højlund occupying Saliba. Could that be the strategy for United to play from? Who knows, we'll have to wait and see. Regardless of that first phase structure, due to their just good quality on the ball, Manchester United, they will have spells during this game where they're able to get control of the ball in the middle phase, in the middle third of the pitch. They're going to try and dictate tempo, control the ball. What's the best way to progress this ball forward and score? Good question. Arsenal will set up in a 4-4-2 mid-block like this. We'll probably see Declan Rice and Kai Havertz in here, although it could switch around this way. That's very possible as well. Arsenal, again, they're going to be physical in their duels. They're going to be very, very good. And in terms of, can you progress the ball out wide? Not really, because Wan-Bissaka's tied up here. Same for Antony, same for Rashford, same for Diogo Dalot. Bit of a problem. I think the solution might be to go for this 2-4-1-3 or 2-4-3-1 shape. Now, this might seem a little bit odd, because normally when a team presses with a front two, I nearly always suggest building yourself with a back three. However, I'm going to suggest something a little bit different in this game, and here's why. I think Onana can become that spare man in this particular match. It's risky, it's bold, but fortune favours the bold, right? I think United could maybe try and make a vertical overload in the middle of the pitch. Not something I would normally talk about. I think vertically overload the pitch. Now, I'll put a couple of lines on the screen here so you can see it. This is the key area where United might be able to get an overload, if you use Onana. So can United, for example, can Lindelof be patient on the ball? Havertz will naturally eventually sort of press him, but he'll use a shadow press. So you can't get the ball to Casemiro because Arsenal are really good in this area. But could he maybe go to Onana, who's in this position, like this? And then can Lindelof and Lisandro Martinez split just a little bit wider? Because now what you can do is make this a 5 versus 2 situation in here. And with the centre-backs being wider of each other, could you now find passes into here? Now, I'm not talking about Onana being halfway up the pitch. I'm talking on the edge of his box to make the spare man. Is this something which United could do? And again, if Nketiah wants to come press, now you can move around that press. And I think that's where United can use that vertical overload. Because you've got Lisandro Martinez, Onana, Lindelof, Casemiro, McTominay and Bruno Fernandes up against Odegaard, Declan Rice, Havertz and Nketiah. So that's actually a 6 versus 4 in United's favour. This is something which I think United could do, and I think it could be quite effective, allowing you to kind of pull Arsenal out of position. Inevitably, players then react. Could we then see some different movements into different areas of the pitch, allowing United to play through the thirds in this way? It's almost an artificial transition. You kind of steady at the back here, you kind of bait Arsenal onto you, you then go backwards to someone like Onana, and use that as the trigger to now we're going to speed up the play. Perhaps we're going to fire a pass in here, or now if Nketiah and Havertz are narrower, we're going to fire the pass to Lisandro Martinez, who can step forward. Can McTominay be found? Can you overload this area of the pitch and quickly turn it to a quick transition with Jadon Sancho dropping in, the run of Antony, the run of Marcus Rashford? That could be quite effective. I also think that United can be quite effective in the final phase as well. In the final third of the pitch, can you break down Arsenal? I think United could have some success. Now, by this time, Arsenal will most likely drop into a 4-4-1-1 shape, which looks a little bit like this. And as you can see by now, I'm pushing Diogo Dalot a little bit further forward up the pitch and just asking Aaron Wan-Bissaka to hold his position a little bit. Now, again, as always, there'll be rotations. Sometimes Dalot will be deeper, Wan-Bissaka will be higher, Casemiro might drop into the back three. There could be rotations. Of course, even we could see Dalot in this position here, and Scott McTominay or Christian Eriksen, whoever it may be, a little bit further up the pitch. Could it even be Amrabat? We just don't know at this moment in time. But I think United from here do have the potential to overload and hurt Arsenal. We can see United have the potential to get into a box midfield up against the 3 Arsenal midfield players. That's a natural overload. Also with someone like Sancho or Martial dropping deeper to hold the ball up, that's a very effective way of attacking. But also, United can create this front 5 up against the Arsenal back 4. And that's where you have an overload, and that's where you can really hurt teams. Antony needs to have a good game like he did last weekend. Now, what did he do well last weekend? He was unpredictable. Sometimes he went on his right, sometimes he went on his left, sometimes he was shooting, sometimes he was crossing, cutting back, playing reverse balls. That's what made him really good. We need more of the same. But I think a big battle. Marcus Rashford up against Thomas Partey in this area of the pitch here. We saw Rashford sit him down last season for a brilliant goal. Could Rashford do it again? Where in a game where he's constantly getting the ball in 1 versus 1 situations, this could be a big battle in this game. It would be brave of Arteta to play Partey in this position, simply because it could be Marcus Rashford up against him. This is where United could have joy. I also think perhaps someone like Scott McTominay crashing into the box could bring some joy as well, because we know he brings an extra physicality, a target to aim for. And again, if United have Rasmus Højlund available in this game, you have to use him. You have to use his physical presence, use him as an outlet. United could really do with him in this game. But even if it is Sancho in this up front position, I think he has the potential to drop into positions, create overloads. United genuinely have a chance. And like I said right at the start of the video, I think this will be a really tough game for Erik ten Hag. But I think if he follows the principles which we've spoken about today, genuinely, and I mean genuinely, I believe United can win this football match. It won't be easy. It's going to be really hard away from home. One of the big things, the players just have to keep their bottle. Even if you concede in the first 20 minutes or just after half time, wherever it may be, keep your bottle. Don't completely lose it. Particularly with experienced players like Rafael Varane out the side. Make sure you keep your concentration. Don't let the heads drop. Keep the standards nice and high. Stick to the principles which Erik ten Hag has coached into this team. If they do that and use the tactical approach which we've spoken about today, I think United will and can win this game. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. What do you make of this Arsenal team? Are they better or worse than they were last season? What is the best approach for United to win this game? Which players should be in the starting 11, different to what I've got? Let me know all of that in the comments down below. But apart from that, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.